a safe haven. So many of the children in underprivileged countries have no such thing. WeDev Water and its sponsors from Join are making that possible for the children in Uganda. While most of Uganda is still a developing country, there are a few communities making great strides in developing sustainable and independent living. One of these is Chakaya House, a project funded by Babies Uganda.
Babies Uganda is an international organization that helps out with different projects in Uganda. And one of the projects happens to be Hope Children's Home, which is Chakaya House.
Chakaya House provides a safe haven for children. Typically what they have is they have a number of Spanish doctors who are doing their internship there, and they'll come and they'll volunteer. There are also a number of other talented Spanish people who will come and share their talents there for months at a time. Maria is one of the leaders of this community. She teaches Spanish to the children and assists in the development of improvement projects for the compound. Coming from a first world country, it can be really challenging to face the issues that come with more than half of the country's population living in poverty.
The population is too poor to actually fund social programs by paying taxes. So the government also isn't providing any help to these people. There is only one thing that really works in the situation, and that's private or foreign aid. Of course, the government also tries by building schools and hospitals, but that won't be enough. This country, these people have too many needs. There will have to be many countries with aid programs to actually help. So really, there only are NGOs like us who actually do their part in advancing society.
Babies Uganda solicits money from its friends in Spain and all over the world. So the moment they fundraise and they get the money for a certain project, then they send the money down here, and then I do the needful. The greatest challenge is to always think about what the future will bring. That's the greatest challenge. And whenever you think about tomorrow, you can never know what comes up. And most of the times it's the funding, because there's a lot of plans ahead of us, and the limitation is the funding. There are a lot of pending projects, yet we need them to be accomplished, and there's no money. So the challenge is that. Otherwise, the planning is ongoing, but it's just limited by that. Yeah.
But even with proper funding, there's always more to be done. Cultural and educational differences are known to cause problems when working towards a common goal. Babies Uganda does provide shelter, food, and a safe place for the children. But there is one protection that they do not have, and that's safety from waterborne disease. And that's where our expertise from WeDev Water comes in. We had asked last year if they have any needs and concerns water, which, not surprisingly, I guess they do. Any good project requires an understanding of the requirement, so we started with the inspection of their wells. For the most part, they were in poor shape and fouled with debris, so it was clear that they needed a higher level of treatment. The way they had laid out their compound, pretty much it was like, okay, I think we need a tank over here. Well, let's buy one, let's just kind of hook it in somehow. And then here looks like a good place, we need a tank over here. And they gave no thought to how the system works together. And so we went out and we mapped the corners of the compound. We did what we could to try and measure the slopes of the compound, and we'll try and go back and do a master planning effort so that the storage tank is more coordinated. Thanks to funding from the Joint people, we were able to put in a gravity membrane filter so that children at the school at least now have clean water to drink.
Well, in the end, the Ugandan culture and the Spanish culture are completely different. And so many times people get here, they first have to adapt to the situation and circumstances. And the Ugandans need to adapt to our way of thinking, which is somewhat of a challenge. In the end, our way of educating is completely different from theirs, and our expectation is as well. It is very difficult sometimes to enter the culture because the population doesn't have the same access to information as we do. There rarely is television and only restricted internet, so for a lot of people, information, moral values and such is passed on in the family, from ancestors, parents, grandparents and so on. So if you as a foreigner come and tell someone your perspective, information can conflict with what their grandmother told them, which makes it very difficult to get a point across. So the culture sometimes can be overwhelming. Then we also find ourselves challenged by raising funds, but the truth is that we are very lucky. Every time people trust us more because in the end we are a very small NGO that transmits a lot of confidence. But the projects are quite large actually. Thanks to the work that we are doing, although it is only work step by step, we are adapting a little to the needs that are emerging in the population, and we do our best to try to supply everything we can. We are happy because we can feel that more and more people trust us.
Entonces, pues la verdad que estamos súper contentos porque cada vez más gente confía en nosotros y eso.
With things going well for Babies Uganda, it's possible to take in a few children and give them the life they deserve.
The first kid that we had was Mirembe, and we get the most vulnerable children. So we get kids from trash cans, garbage pits, forests, abandoned, completely abandoned.
Sometimes the police call us and we need to go to the station because they found an abandoned child living on the streets. But not all cases go through the mediation of the police. And there are also cases where parents have mental or medical problems, prohibiting them from taking care of their children. Fathers often leave their families behind, but each one has a unique story. We don't really want to think bad of these families that have to give a child away because oftentimes they don't really have a choice. Often girls get pregnant at a very young age, many before even turning 15. They mostly don't have any type of resource and little to no income. They themselves are completely alone and helpless. They are not really left with much of a choice than to abandon their child. At least most of them do so in places where they know someone is going to find the child. They want to give their children a better life because they know they are not going to be able to provide for the child themselves.
We have children that don't even know who their parents are. That's why all our children bear the name Wanika. That is my tribe name. So we found it really interesting to have all these kids that name because they have an identity. Here it's a little bit challenging. If a kid is named Tony James, then you don't have an origin because they expect you to be Ugandan. So they have the name Wanika, all of them, because that is their identity in the community and in the country.
Instead of sending them off on their own after they age out of the orphanage, the children of Babies Uganda can choose to stay and work in the Chakaya House community.
Our place is a family. And if you know what it means by family, then you get to know what these kids have here. this is their home. Many, many years to come, they will be here. I'll be a grandfather if they happen to have children. The children at the orphanage have a lineage, that's what I can say. So they have a family. So it doesn't mean that once they are done with school, they are going to go back. They have nowhere to go because they have no family. So their family is here. So them being in this orphanage, this is their home forever and ever. So what we need to do is just to make them a comfortable place to live in, teach them the basics, teach them, go through university if they will, then try and look for jobs, work and come back and then look after the community. So that's it. Yeah, that's what makes it unique from other orphanages.
A safe haven. Thanks to people like Tony and Maria and organizations like WeDev Water and Join, the children of Babies Uganda have a chance for a better life.